welcome to Get Over It, the consciousness transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. We've got a great show today. Tomás Prower is on, and he's going to be talking about his book, Queer Magic, LGBT plus spirituality and culture from around the world. And he's also going to, folks, help us have a greater understanding of what is included under the queer umbrella so that when you hear these terms, you truly know what people are talking about and you don't have a biased attitude toward it. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's holding you back. But you guys know I always ask that question, are you truly ready to let go? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. A bit about me for my new listeners, intuitive since birth. I'm a third generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I'm the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind, body, spirit connection, allowing you to live your very best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist. So whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website, and that's moniquechapman.com. And I invite you to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. And if you like this podcast, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. My guest today, Tomás Prower, is an award-winning Latinx author of books on multicultural magic and mysticism, including queer magic and morbid magic. Fluent in English, Spanish, French, he previously served as the cultural liaison between France, the United States, and various nations of South America, which allowed him to live and work all over the Western Hemisphere, including Buenos Aires, Santiago, Chile, Tijuana, Reno, Las Vegas, and the Amazon jungle. Tomás is also a licensed mortuary professional and former external relations director for the American Red Cross. He currently lives in where, Tomás? Where do you live?
Los Angeles, California.
Okay, love LA. And you can check him out at his website, and that is tomasprower.com, TOMASPROWER.com. Tomás Prower. Welcome, Tomás.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. I mean, I was telling you before we got on here that you're so chill. I absolutely love it. And that tells me that you truly walk your talk and you know what you're talking about. So thank you for being one of the, I'm going to say, few people in spirituality who truly just walk their talk. You know, a lot of people put out advertising and they play a good game, but you're actually living the good game. So queer magic, what is it?
Queer magic, the book is all about the queer history and queer magic and spirituality that really has been erased from most of our history books that we know. You know, learning throughout what is queer culture, we learn like the Greeks and the ancient Romans had a bit of it, and then it kind of disappeared until the Stonewall riots in the 1960s. But there's been queerness and spirituality and the magical powers that queer people have or are perceived to have, and special queer spells in cultures all over the world. And this book really helps to resurrect that and bring back that erased history of the magic and the divinity of queerness and how peoples all over the world saw them. So that's what that is.
Okay, why do you think people were so in a hurry to erase this knowledge and to keep it hidden from us? Because as I was reading the book, I read a couple of things. I was like, oh, really? I mean, and I'm completely on board, but I had no idea.
It's really the old reasons of why all peoples are erased, really. It's a sense of power. People want to marginalize people and put people down. And really, especially nowadays still, just fear of the feminine and just this hyper toxic masculinity that grows up, because it's it's a sense of control and it's a sense of power. And if you can put down people, and these people who have magical powers, or these people who are different and special, if you can point out that differentness and say, oh, that's a bad thing, then that differentness becomes ridiculed and becomes weakened. So it's all just power struggles all over
Why
the
is it,
world.
oh, why is it that they feel that feminism has to be weak? I don't get that. We're warrior women.
That's exactly the point. It's because it's so strong that it is very threatening to the male ego, the male
Uh-huh,
power. I mean, women bring life into the world. Women, have a lot more say in it, a lot more, I think, a lot more wisdom and a lot more just intuitiveness with both the earth and physical realms. And they're more important. I mean, even a biological sense, a woman takes 9 months to deliver a child, and a guy could,
uh-huh.
bang out many children in that
Yeah,
time.
in that 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah, so one woman is that much more exponentially more, valuable to society. But it's because it's so powerful that you have to put it down, or you have to put it in a negative spin on it in order to raise, the masculinity up. It's an old case of, well, we're going to tear you down to make us bigger, rather than making us bigger and pointing out our own strengths for it. Just this very same old thing that men have been doing since time immemorial.
Well, yeah, yes, they've been doing it since time immemorial, and I think that they just covered up everything else. When I was reading your book, you had talked about Dao De Ching, in the achievement through seemingly opposite action to create and understand who you are. And you said if you, I'm paraphrasing, if you look at the opposite of who you think you are, you can figure out who you truly are. Something
I
along those lines.
Yeah, I think so too. Because a lot of us, especially when we're younger, we really try to figure out who we are. We come to this world and we think, who am I? What am I destined to do? What's my journey? What's my goal on this, life plane? And
Uh,
really, we look through it through external means that really aren't within us or within ourselves. We think we have celebrity idols or musicians or books that we read by other people, TV shows even, and our personality becomes this amalgamation of all these other people's ideas and not really our own. And
uh-huh.
so when we really understand ourselves, we have to look at ourselves from outside of ourselves. Anyone who's tried to self-edit any of their own works knows exactly what this is, because it's really hard
Yes,
to edit yourself. You can't see, you have your own blinders, so you don't know
right.
what you just naturally assume to be true. It's when you go to a friend and be like, hey, what's wrong? And they'll give you the realty. They'll give you the real, okay,
Uh-huh.
this is what you need to be fixed on. You have something in your teeth, pick it out.
Uh-huh.
So you kind of have to look outside of yourself and see, okay, I'm a man and I present myself in a masculine way out in the world. I think I do it this way and non-threateningly, but let me put myself in a very female perspective and view myself. Am I coming off as that jerk? Am I coming off as,
Uh,
aggressive, strong in a bad
uh-huh.
way? Like, how do I really present myself? And you need to look outside yourself from other eyes in order to do it. Otherwise, you're just self-blinded.
Okay, well, let's talk a minute about religion and, queer magic. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, religion just kills everything it puts its hands on because it's so regimented and it's so tunnel vision laser focused that if you don't fit into their constructs, you're an outsider. Okay, so that's just my perspective. But what I don't understand is you can go to any Catholic church, well, not any, but some Catholic churches, and you will see queer people there, and they're just, they're there with everybody else believing. And I'm like, wow, but they really don't accept you. So why are you doing that? Why are you pretending to be, or maybe not pretending, but to me, pretending to be part of something that really doesn't want to accept you?
I mean, that's a human psychology problem that a lot of us suffer with. And I don't say us as like just the queer community, but just us as living
Uh-huh,
beings. It's very hard to go out on your own and try something different than what you've always known. That takes a lot of
uh-huh,
courage. That's very punk rock. So it's a lot easier to just fold in. I mean, if you've ever been in a bad relationship and you're scared to move on because it's all
uh-huh.
you know, or you have bad parents that abuse you and like just terrible, say you're nothing and give you no nurturing, but still you love them, and oh, my mom, I care about her, even though they're awful people. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just safer. It's all rather than to say, I'm going to strike it out on my own. I'm going to find something that works for me. I'm going to be alone and independent for a while I do this in uncharted waters. And that scares the hell out of people. So
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to just stick with what you know when, the devil is a lot friendlier and a lot easier to deal with than the devils you possibly don't know.
Yeah, or the devil within your own head because you're thinking things that you don't control. In reading your book, I discovered Pele, and I didn't have any idea about Pele's sexuality. And then also what the Ayatollah Khomeini did. So could you talk about those two? I know they're two different worlds, but could you talk about those two?
Yes, they're two very different worlds, and because if you go back deep into every culture around the world, there is queerness. I mean, queerness has
Hmm.
been a part of
Hmm.
humanity, so it's all in our mythology too. And Pele, as in Hawaii, the goddess of most notably volcanoes and the eruption of them, she was the hot-tempered lady. She got very angry, very upset, very jealous. Trigger hair
Hmm.
temper. And yeah, but she loved all people. She loved women. She loved men. She loved the third gender Mahu of the
Hmm.
cultural of Hawaii. But yeah, and there's this one story of her where she thought that her sister, the goddess the Hi'iaka, the goddess of the hula, was after
Hmm.
her man.
Hmm.
But
She's vicious.
but she was just paranoid about it, and but it wasn't really happening. And so Pele, in her like hair trigger temper, killed the lover of Hi'iaka, who was another female in their lesbian
Hmm.
relationship. And through this epic journey that goes more in detail in the book, Hi'iaka and Pele's lover become actual lovers in the journey to kind of calm Pele down. So it's a
Hmm.
very self-fulfilling prophecy filled with queerness, filled with adventure. But again, these are the stories that aren't told, even in modern traditional Hawaiian culture, because they're forgotten or they're in obscure books that I like research and find. But even in Iran with the Ayatollah, it's very interesting. I'd say as a backhanded compliment, interesting, where Iran is one of the most very, very progressive nations in modern times to
Hmm.
be transgender accepting, but they don't accept transgender people, as, oh, okay, we're going to help you out, we understand. It's,
Hmm.
if you, to them, mind you, this is that world set, that very, very dogmatic Islam, not all Islam, but this heavy state controlled version.
Hmm.
um if you believe, to them, you're crazy, you're in the wrong gender, what are you thinking? You're a sinner, that is
Hmm.
bad, that is evil.
Hmm.
So to help purify you and fix your mind, we are going to give you this transgender surgery completely for free on the state dollar. This way it cures the sinner by having the mind and the body act in tandem. So it's fascinating that despite being
Interesting.
super conservative and super intense with the
Hmm.
spirituality of their Islam, the Iranian government sponsors so many transgender reassignment surgeries for free in order to help them. Granted, help
Hmm.
them, fix them, not be a sinner, but still, it's fascinating how different people, the mental gymnastics people play to justify things. But yeah, and that's just one example of things all over the world.
It's truly amazing. Now, on the other hand, the Gnostics, they were completely accepting. I mean, it's like, hey, come on in, we love you, we accept you just as you are. Are there other um, backgrounds that also accept readily as opposed to, putting their thumb on you and holding you down?
I would say honestly, most cultures did, until around colonialism started happening. I know everyone like says
Hmm.
colonialism for everything, to where it's kind of become a buzzword, but it's true because Europe was in a very Reconquista move. Very, we're going to take back Christianity, when they started exploring and started landing in other places. So the colonized cultures got really heavy-handed timing with that.
Hmm.
So, but every culture it's been, I know one that really stuck out in my mind was, that stays with me to this day, is up in Russia, modern day Russia, in Siberia, there's the Chukchi tribe.
Hmm.
And they have this sense of shamans with magical powers. And if you're a male shaman, then you have all the powers of the universe of masculinity. Women
Mhm.
have all the powers of femininity in the universe. But then they have non-binary shamans who are feared the most because if you are
Mhm.
neither male nor you're female, then you have all the magical power
Mhm.
of all the universe. You can transcend male and female and double the power.
Mhm.
So, and it's fascinating because there's a lot of kids nowadays, they so desperately want to find their sub genre of
Mhm.
what they are so they can stamp it and say, I am this. And that's
Mhm.
fantastic. And if it works for you, great. But when you put yourself in the categorization box, you are simultaneously saying, I am not everything that is outside this box. And it does limit yourself in a very strong
Mhm.
way. But the Chukchis, by saying, I am everything, I am not going to put any labels on myself. Therefore, I am everything at the same time. And there's nothing out of bounds in the universe for me I can tap into. And that kind
Mhm.
of acceptance of the mystery and acceptance of just the fluidity of not having a label is very magically powerful in their culture and really magically powerful in modern psychology if you can live your life so authentically like that in any culture.
Well, how can we today, and I'm going to ask you about different terms in a moment, but how can we today live that type of lifestyle where we're not identifying he, she, male, female, but we just are whom we are? How do we present that to the world?
It's tricky because like the first questions, there's a duality that you have to play with society because there's how you see yourself, but there's also how others see you.
Uh-huh.
And those two have to be in balance in order for society to kind of function at all. And really, it's just giving people the benefit of the doubt. If you want to be presented in a certain way and excuse me as I burp,
Uh-huh.
you want to be presented in a certain way, you can go ahead and tell people, remind people. And it's very important because you should stand up for yourself and live the life you want to live. But you have to understand it might take time for people to get used to something, especially if they've known you a certain other way. It may slip
Uh-huh.
up. And just knowing that it comes from a place of I'm trying to learn and it might just take some time,
Uh-huh.
giving that benefit of the doubt allows it to be a lot more smooth. But if you become that very person like gets angry immediately and starts doing things, that's not, no one wants to talk to that person at all, let
Uh-huh.
alone listen to them. So you
Uh-huh.
have to do it in that duality way. So be who you are, but understand that the world, and especially not everyone in the world, will accept you, and you have to be okay with that. Because there was a campaign, I think a decade or so ago, where it was, it gets better campaign for a lot of queer youth, and just saying
Uh-huh.
anti-suicide campaign, live life, it gets better, you'll get through these dark times. And the truth is, it doesn't get better, you
Uh-huh.
get better
You,
as you
yeah.
grow into your own and you become your own person and powerful. You stand up for yourself more, you
Uh-huh.
have agency in your own life. And when you can command that, life does get better. And especially if you don't care what other people think, be yourself, say who you are, do what you do, but understand that it's not going to be accepted by everyone. And knowing that,
Uh-huh.
a lot gets so much easier in life.
Well, I think sometimes some ethnic minorities might have a closer identification with that. Some don't, but I think some may have a closer identification because I'm a Black girl and I went to an all-white school. So guess what? I was the only dark thing in, 400 kids. And that can be quite interesting. So I can't imagine back then in the 50s how it would have been if I was, other than heterosexual at that time. I know many kids that I grew up with who did come out, they ended up killing themselves because they just couldn't take the pressure of family not accepting, then friends not accepting. And for whatever reason, they couldn't or wouldn't go to a region where they could be accepted more. So it's quite interesting. But I want to change gears for a second and talk about different terms within the LGBT plus community. Because I think that people, some people make jokes about LGBTQIZ, whatever,
Right,
and I think
right.
that's horrible because you're, denouncing who someone's claiming to be. But talk to us how different people identify and what it means, please.
Sure, I will definitely prelude this by saying it's not even fully agreed in our queer community. We fight
Okay.
among it. So it's okay if you don't know. And plus, all these words are changing a lot.
Uh-huh.
Even terminology used in the queer magic book I wrote back in like 2016, 2017.
Uh-huh.
A lot has changed since then, and it will continue to change. But in general, you kind of just go by other people's lead and ask them how they want to be not categorized, but the kind of verbiage you should use for them. And it changes. Like
Uh-huh.
you have the general ones, the LGBT, you have a lesbian, which is a someone who identifies as female being sexually attracted to someone who identifies as female.
Uh-huh.
Gay means everything, but generally means male. Bisexual
Okay.
means like male and female. Transgender means you were born into one gender, but you identify with a different one and live your life that way. You don't have to fully transition. Some people can go full on, get a surgery,
Uh-huh.
do all the biological things to become more like that gender, but you don't have to. It's if you proclaim yourself as something and live yourself in that way authentically and you're honest to yourself,
Uh-huh.
then you don't have to go through it and you can still be trans. But there's a lot of other things that confuse people, like pansexual. Like, what is the difference? Isn't that just bisexual anyway? You like men and you like women. It's a little more than that. To be
Uh-huh.
pansexual means you like men, you like women, but you also like everything in between. So you also like non-binary people. You like people who are, ambiguous or very
Uh-huh.
gender fluid. So pansexual means I men, women, and everything else people identify with.
Okay.
Um, Queerness it used to be like a very naughty word.
Yes.
It used to be
When I was
a
young,
big
yes.
slur, but
Uh-huh.
it's become very in vogue lately. And I would, it's still kind of new. So I wouldn't, unless you are part of the queer community, I would suggest not using it.
Okay.
Because we don't, as a queer person you talk to, we don't know who you are. So if you say, hey, queer person, we don't know if
Uh-huh.
that's an insult. We don't know
Exactly.
if you mean that lovingly, so
Yeah.
refrain from it, but understand it means the whole umbrella of things. It's
Okay.
just every letter of the LGBTQIA, on and on. But the thing that
Uh-huh.
trips a lot of people up is the difference between um, your sexual attraction and your
Uh-huh.
gender identity,
Uh-huh.
which are two completely different things nowadays. Your gender
Right.
identity is how you identify with. Do you identify as a male? Do you identify as a female? Non-binary, others, um, all of the above. So that's part of it. But also, sexual attraction is not the same, because you could be a female attracted to a female, lesbianism. You could be a male attracted to a female, heterosexuality.
Uh-huh.
You could be a non-binary person attracted to females and so forth. And it's so the so when someone says I am this, it doesn't
Uh-huh.
necessarily mean I am also attracted to this. Those are two separate things that a lot of people
Uh-huh.
unfamiliar with the queer community get confused about. But if as a plug for this, there's a book by I think Misha Magdalene,
Uh-huh.
and their book is called Outside or The Charmed Circle. And that's how I actually learned all these terms very well. Because
Oh,
again,
okay.
we fight about it in the queer community of what is right and what is wrong and what is
Uh-huh.
changing. So that book really got me, really explained it very well.
Okay. So thank you very much for sharing that. Um, Way back when, there must have been movements among the queer community to, advance forward to have or help people understand. And today there's definitely a resurgence of energy around that. Are there any differences or major differences that you notice when you're doing your research for queer magic?
In terms of how it's changed so much.
Yeah, today it's starting to be more accepting, and though you have more terms, back then it was like accepted in some ways, but other ways just swept under the rug, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot started changing in the 1960s, in general, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really the violent. All props to trans women of color and them taking bricks, throwing them at cops, and inciting a violent riot is the reason why we can be as free and open as today. Without that violence,
Wow.
without those cops being beaten by trans women,
Mm-hmm.
we would not have the freedoms we have today. So a lot happened back at Stonewall on a sonic repercussion levels. And because of that, we got more bold. Really, we were, when I say we, as like the community way back when,
Mm-hmm.
we're just sick
Mm-hmm.
of it. And that's why trans women of color were our leaders, because, you could have a white male who could pass. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really have to fight for their rights because they could live double lives a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're queer, trans, and you're black, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, you can't hide.
Right.
There's nowhere you can go. You have to live authentically. It's the only way you
Mm-hmm.
can exist. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's nothing left but to fight back when you're in that kind of a situation. And boy, did they. So because of that bravery, we have all the voice options that we have today. And it's more, and very, very jadedly, it's now capitalized upon. Companies have found it better. They can make more money by helping us
Mm-hmm.
rather
Mm-hmm.
than pushing us down. So really, is it insincere? Is it inauthentic? Absolutely. But
Yes.
still, and a lot of people, I see a lot of things, when Pride season comes, and everyone has the rainbows, all the corporations throw out the
Mm-hmm.
rainbows, gay people, give us your money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's absolutely shallow. But the other hand, think of the young kid on the line, walking through the malls, seeing all the pride flags. Think of how much more inspired, even insincerely,
Mm-hmm.
just being recognized.
Right.
Imagine if, us as older, the elder queers
Mm-hmm.
grew up with that kind of acceptance, even if it was insincere, just seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not all bad. It's not all bad. But yeah, I mean, even politicians, like, people have to quote unquote evolve on their ideas of accepting queerness and backing queer marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right when they didn't have another election to have to win. And it's
Well,
like all, I mean, it's all
yeah.
politics is almost insincere with it. All
Oh, all of it
corporations
is.
are
All of
insincere
it
with it.
is. All of
Yeah,
it
so
is. I mean, you look at TV and you see the commercials where there's a supposed gay couple by their interactions. That's what you think that they are. And then they're promoting something where 10 years ago, that company wouldn't have gone anywhere near them. Okay,
oh
they
my
were
God, yes.
outcast. Okay, complete outcast. I shared with you before we went on air that my youngest son is gay, and he didn't come out to me until he was 24. And he did it in a very interesting way. Now, I knew he was gay when he was born. This is the weird thing. My husband and I had the biggest argument of our lives over this kid's name. And I said, no, because I got to call him Julie. And I had nothing against, gay people or anything. So I was like, no, but I didn't know why I was fighting so hard for that. And
Mhm.
then at age 5, I was helping out in the classroom, the kindergarten classroom when I was in town. And the teacher told everybody to draw a picture of himself. And my son and 2 others drew pictures of themselves in skirts. So I was like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
okay. So, that told me. And then at 24, he had his tonsils out. And of course, he wanted me there. So I'm sitting in the recovery room with him. And he goes, Mom, hand me my pants. So I give him his pants. He pulls out this note and he goes, here. And the note said, and I still have it. I have it in a book I was reading at the time. It said, I know you know this, but I'm gay. But
Ah,
don't tell dad yet because I don't know if he'll like me. So I went home and I had a strong, conversation with my husband. And I said, I don't care what you think. Okay, this is your kid. You're gonna love him. You're gonna tell him, And my husband was on board because he has many family members in his family that were gay. But it was just really funny how he was afraid all of those years to come out. And then when he did, he had to do it when he was under the influence, so to speak. And I guess he was afraid of that acceptance. And I told him, I hope you find somebody who loves you just as much as I love you in the story. But it breaks my heart that another friend of his came out to his parents and his parents disowned him.
oh
Like,
God.
get out now. He stayed with us for a little while. It was just, it's amazing how people are so blinded that they won't even accept their own flesh and blood, what they've created to bring into this world. And I don't know what the cure for that is.
I mean, I don't know either. And why wiser people than I have tried to figure that out too, and to no avail yet. But it's just,
Mhm.
it's really just fear. I mean, all hatred is really just end up at the end of the day. It's
Yeah,
fear
fear.
and it's uncomfortableness of it. And really, if you're open to everything, especially to love, especially, quote unquote, unconditional,
Uh-huh.
and that's what it is. And you just have to love people. So there's some sort of weird unlove of the self. And really, if you it's get people to really love themselves, and then they can truly love other people. Because you can't love other people if you don't love yourself. And
Yeah.
those parents who don't love their children, there's something a lot deeper inside of them that they need to look at.
Yeah. Well, RuPaul says it best, and I got to paraphrase because I don't exactly remember. But if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? You know. And
Amen.
on the subject of Ru, what are your thoughts? Because in my opinion, Ru has brought it to the forefront where people can at least see, even if they don't want to understand, even if they just look at it as entertainment values. What are your thoughts around that and what he's doing?
Um, I would say that especially living in LA, RuPaul is very calculating, very,
Uh-huh.
very cold, very money focused.
Uh-huh.
With that said, he was an absolute trailblazer, especially in the 90s to be doing what he
Yeah.
did so openly.
Uh-huh.
And just in the face of everyone. He back then, very punk rock, very against the system, take it or leave it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was great. And by using that clout to do RuPaul's Drag Race, it's gotten a lot more accepted. And again, I'd say the same thing for, the corporate pride season. Is it
Uh-huh.
insincere? Is it all a big cash grab for Ru? Yes. Is he doing it
Uh-huh.
out of to get his farm even bigger that he does fracking on? Yes,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. But
Uh-huh.
is it helping people at the end of the day? Is it promoting people? Is it inspiring new generations to, again, go full circle with this, accept the femininity within, these queer boys, have people on TV in, suburbia Midwest see it and think,
Uh-huh.
oh, wow, we have these people. Because a lot of the issues I've seen with people is that they're against something unless it either happens to them or to someone they
Uh-huh.
know. So by
Uh-huh.
RuPaul putting this in everyone's TV shows, and you fall in love with these girls that you see, trying to make it and live their dreams on that runway,
Uh-huh.
you fall in love with them. They become it's a part of you in a way, and so you can't hate what you love. So he brought the love in and bringing it to everyone's room. So I support it, and I think it's great.
Uh-huh. Well, he has other, agendas, but most people do. Our time is almost up. It's gone so quickly. What words of wisdom would you have for the general population today around acceptance and being queer or straight or whomever you profess to be?
Overall, very simply, I'd say take it easy. I just generally take it easy. Take it easy on yourself. Take it easy on other people who are struggling through trying to figure out who they are. And take it easy on the people who don't understand who you are. I mean, if you're
Mhm.
so rigid and so bent on, never bending, then when a strong wind comes, those trees break. But if you can bend,
Uh-huh.
if something goes at you and something comes at you the wrong way, if you can bend a little bit, you can survive it. So don't be so hard on yourself or on others. Find your
Mhm.
journey, be accepting, and keep it loose.
Okay. And I lied. One more question. What would you say to parents who are having difficulty accepting their child?
I would, I would ask.
No, say what, no, speak your truth, because this is like, this is truth here. This isn't, let's fluff it up.
I would say, what about yourself do you not like?
Uh-huh.
Because everything you don't like in another person is because it's something inside of you. So if you're like, this macho dad and you don't want to have, a sissy for a son, what is it about it? What are you afraid of your own femininity? Why haven't you
Uh-huh.
tapped into that? Why does that scare you? And
Mm.
those are looking into the shadow self really, and it's too hard for people to do that. So, but I would ask them, why does it bother you? It can't.
Mm.
Nothing happens in a vacuum. Why? And then once you find out
Mhm.
that reason, why does that bother you? And then go down and down and down until you hit the root and
Mhm.
face it head on, and either unpluck it or live with
Mhm.
it. Hey,
Okay. And just one comment back to the politicians that we talked about being intuitive. I could look at people's energies, and some of those politicians who are being against gay, queer, whatever you want to say, they have tried it themselves, but they're just keeping it in the closet, so to speak. So maybe I'll do a show on exposing them one day. But but Tomas, thank you so much for being with me today as we get over it and understand the queer magic and the world of queer. I greatly appreciate it.
No, it was great to be on. And again, if anyone's, in the book, there's a whole lot more stories that we can get into, but queerness has always existed, and your tribe is out there.
Yeah, and folks, get the book and read the part on Apollo. That'll be a shocker. So, again, thank you for being with me today. And thank you to the audience for listening. And I want you guys to remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of understanding queer magic. Abundant blessings, light, and love to all. Agape.